about the time we faced them.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because you know that the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel D&T Evolution podcast with myself, Andy Stead.
I'm Jarian Gibson.
And we are joined this week and for the next 5 weeks by Jamie Smith. How you doing, Jamie?
Not bad at all. Hopefully be able to keep that up, but we'll see.
You're committed. You're here. That's it.
Yeah, I've said yes. I can't not now.
That's exactly it. Yeah, you're here. So Jamie's on to give us his well-educated opinion on Moon Knight over the next 5 weeks or 6 weeks, including today. So obviously we started last week, which we'll get on to very shortly. But how have we both been? How you been, Jarian? All right?
Yeah, pretty good. Busy week work-wise, but doing pretty good. Seems like a lot of news week this week, and seems like a lot of Morbius and Moon Knight stuff. So we'll be tackling both of those today.
Nice. You said work. Like I assumed you just did this for your work.
Yeah, I wish.
How cool would that be? I know you guys know, but maybe listeners don't know. I do a lot of grassroots football or soccer coaching, a lot of volunteering there, and people say to me, "Oh, I didn't realize you had an actual job. I thought this was your job." And I was like, "No, I wish it was, but it's not. I wish I got paid for this." But the amount of hours that I put into it, and this is similar to this. I mean, we do this for fun, and we do this because we enjoy it. But it'd be great if we did one day get paid for it, wouldn't it? But how are you doing, Jamie? You all right?
Yeah, not bad. Working as usual. Extra sore hands this week.
Extra sore hands.
Always sore, just extra sore this week.
Jamie works with a hammer, by the way, everybody, if you're listening. Lisa's on. Hello, Lisa. Oh, and she said her son Xander is watching too. How you doing, Xander?
Yeah, nice. I've got a son called Xander as well.
Ah, well, there we go.
Same spelling.
And your son's first name begins with an X as well, doesn't it?
Yep.
Blimey, lots of X's in the house.
Lots of X's.
So, I mean, if anybody that's listening, Lisa, I know you're there. Xander's there as well. If you've got anything that you want to chip in with, feel free to drop us a comment. We'll see what we can do. Before we get stuck in on the news, I thought I'd just show off the latest Funko that's joined our collection here at this house. And this is a little Merple or Mermaid Deadpool. Is the metallic one. It's actually my wife's Mother's Day present. She saw it. She went, "I quite like that. That could be a Mother's Day present."
Mother's Day present.
In all fairness, she saw it. She said, "I really like that. That could be a Mother's Day present." And I was like, "I'd already bought it. It was already in the basket, paid for." But no, it's all good. So yeah, that's my latest little addition to my collection here. But and Jamie's in front of his Moon Knight wall.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've posted it. I know you've posted it to the group, but that's
slowly building it.
Yeah, that's nice. That is nice. And did you see the new Funkos that were released?
Yeah, I've already pre-ordered them. Both of them.
They're already there. Right. Okay. So let's get through a few pieces of news first, Jarian, shall we?
Yeah. So Morbius released this week with a lot of not so good feedback, and its opening box office weekend was 39 million with bad reviews, but it does have the second worst audio score for any Marvel movie, just sitting behind 2015's Fantastic Four release. And then it also opened to a worst Thursday night box office haul since the New Mutants. So it's not doing well. A lot of people says it feels rushed. There's some mixed things. They don't get how Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes / Vulture fits in. So I don't know. It seems like Sony was back on the right track for a while, with Venom movies, Venom and Venom 2. I know Mark Rutherford from the group said he liked it better than Venom 2, which that sounds good from Mark. But there's not a lot of good things out there on this movie.
It's looked like it struggled, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
But then I don't know. As you said, it seems to have been rushed. I think, from what I understand, some of the connections to the wider universe, without trying to spoil anything, are the things that have been rushed with this.
And seem confusing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, is it time? Is it time that they just sort of, cut their losses and not gave the rights back? That's not what I mean, but do what they've done with Spider-Man and just said, look, let's bring this universe in. Or are they trying to do that? I mean, again, without spoiling anything, I mean, we see what happened at the end of Let There Be Carnage and how that kind of tied in a little bit with No Way Home. Are they trying to do the same? From what I understand, again, I don't want to say anything too much, but from what I understand, there's little tidbits of that in, and as we know, Michael Keaton's Vulture's in there as well to some degree. So are they trying to sort of bring it all together? And is that what's going to happen? I don't know. If anybody's got any thoughts on that on the group that's listening, drop us a message. What's your thoughts, guys?
I just hope that this isn't a sign for projects like Craven and then Madam Web and the other rumored projects that are coming for Sony. Hopefully they can turn it around. I often wonder though if this movie suffered from the delays, because it got delayed 2 or 3 times, didn't it? As far as pushback. So I just wonder that. I also read that after No Way Home, I believe they reshot a lot of Michael Keaton's scenes in the movie. So remember we talked back in December about reshoots and Michael Keaton. So it seems like, maybe all that changes, who knows, but hopefully they get back on track, because I think their next project release is Craven.
When's
so
it due out, Joe?
next year sometime. I think it's like mid next year, supposed to be out.
I'm a little bit worried for that one, and I'm not worried because I don't think it's going to be good, because I just really want it to be good, because I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is brilliant, and Craven's such a great character that I don't want it to be ruined, because if it's ruined, you then you're then back to square one again, aren't you? Yeah. That's my opinion on it anyway.
So
did they not go back on a lot of the Morbius stuff and take out some of the references, apparently?
Yeah, they changed it up a little bit and some of those things. So I don't know. I'll probably still go see it and with you one of these days when I have a down afternoon.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it as well. But
yeah.
RMC's on. How are we doing?
What's up, RMC?
The RMC.
The next bit of news. Oh, go ahead. Oh yeah, the next bit of news. Multiverse of Madness. I said last week it was around 2.5 hours. But it looks like for ticket sales are coming up soon. I think this week. And Fandango website is listing at 2 hours and 6 minutes. So about a half hour shorter than originally mentioned. So I wonder if a lot of things made the cutting room floor. I know that Bruce Campbell said that his cameo may have been cut in one of his tweets a while back.
Ooh.
He wasn't sure. Yeah, he said he filmed the cameo for it, but he said he didn't know if it made the final cut or not. So I wonder what changed after No Way Home. What they went back. Because I know that the beginning of this year they were doing a lot of reshoots. Maybe they retool things, because originally wasn't this supposed to come out before No Way Home? Or am I thinking that wrong?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I'm sure Multiverse of Madness would have been out already. Would have come out in March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So No Way Home was late as well.
Yeah. So with all this reshuffling, they're retooling things. So 2 hours and 6 minutes there at the final cuts. Next piece of news.
Oh, hold on. I was going to say, does that seem short? For me, that seems short.
I don't think it's so. I think it's shorter than Black Widow, time wise, but I guess it all depends how the story goes and what they show and how it fits. As long as it all fits together and so forth, I think it'll be fine. I know one thing. This movie was reported to be longer, even more longer than 2.5 hours originally.
Yeah.
So I know those cut scenes and the extra scene stuff when it comes out digital release is going to be interesting to see what actually didn't make the cut.
Yeah, there was a comment in the group the other week, and it said, "I'd quite happily watch a Marvel movie for 4 hours," but I don't think like the normal cinema goer would want to do that. And I'm like, yeah, I totally agree. I would quite happily watch it, but yeah, I don't know. For me, this seems like there's a lot that could happen. Multiverse of Madness itself is quite a big title, isn't it? And it kind of it sort of it says that a lot's going to happen. There's multiverses, there's multiple things that are going to be going on, and we've only got 2 hours or 2 and a bit hours to get this in. So I mean, I trust them. I trust that they'll do a great job. It just seemed, in my opinion, when I heard that, I just thought, oh, that seemed a bit short.
It could be just a fast-paced movie. Instead of drawing things out, maybe they cut some things that kind of drew things out, and maybe it's just a fast-paced movie from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an origin movie, is it? We know Strange, we know Wanda, obviously, we know Mordo, we know Wong. There's going to be other characters in there, obviously, that we know. I say we know, we're pretty certain that Xavier's in there as well. Charles Xavier's in there, so we know him in to a certain degree. So yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see.
Yeah, Illuminati will be new. America Chavez will be new, but Rintrah will be new. But who else we'll see in there in the cameos and so forth? Could be some familiar faces, but we'll see. So yeah, you're right. It's not an origin story, so they can get right into it. That depending what the time of the movie is, they can pick up right after No Way Home, and kind of go through there, or whenever this is set in the timeline.
Yeah, hi, Roxy's there as well. Hi, Roxy.
Hey, Roxy. Speaking of Roxy, the latest teaser trailer did show a monster, and we're not sure who that monster is.
She beat you to it on the group. She beat you to it on the group, didn't she?
Yeah, so there is a new one out there. Is it Man-Thing? Is it Chithon? Is it somebody? Is it a protector of the Sanctum, or Wondermore, the mountain, Wondergore? I don't know. I'm going blank here. But yeah, so interesting to see what that monster ends up being. I'm on Roxy's side about Chithon, because we know that Darkhold is in this movie. We know there's the continuation from WandaVision series with her having the Darkhold. We know there's some stuff going on with Wanda in the film, so I think I'm leaning towards Chithon, of that creature being. So
yeah, there was that picture that Roxy shared, wasn't it? And it was very similar, wasn't it? So yeah, I do agree. Sorry, Jamie, go on.
So I thought it looked similar, like the skin of it, it looked similar to Curse from Dark World. Could it maybe be something to do with the ether?
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's also not Curse, because that was terrible, and they're not going to do that again. But
yeah, I know what you mean, though. I've got a whole book that's to do with Marvel monsters, and I did say yesterday that I was going to get it down and have a little look, but I haven't got around to it yet. I think my mind was made up when I saw that picture that Roxy shared of Chiffon, and I was like, yeah, that's going to be it. Surely it looks too similar, but I mean, who knows? Would they reveal that character in a teaser or in a TV spot? Don't know.
I mean, you look at the glass too. It's in the glass, among other things, from the original poster. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
It looks more like a mindless beast, though. So would they waste him to just make him just like a throwaway mindless beast? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I did think at one point that it could have been some sort of evolution of Abomination, but I think it's too far. It's not enough like him at all. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously with Wong, that connection that we got from Shang-Chi.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Abomination in the film helping them fight, because obviously you said there's that connection there, and something's going on between those two.
Yeah. RMC thinks it's Chiffon as well.
Next piece of news, Ryan Coogler is working on Ironheart. So this was set out there on the premiere of Moon Knight. They interviewed Anthony Ramos, who's going to be playing a mystery role, not just in Ironheart, but going forward. My money's on a Young Doom, but I won't go too deep into that. But he did mention that Coogler is working on Ironheart, which makes sense because Riri is going to be introduced in Wakanda Forever. And we'll probably see that come out of that. I also won't be surprised if we see Riri in Armor Wars as well.
Yep. There's that MIT connection, isn't there? Yep. Good. That's good. It's good. Ties it all together.
Werewolf by Night Disney Plus special has started filming, and that's supposed to be out Halloween this year time frame. So that's filming now. So that's going to only be a special. So that should only be like a month or so of filming. So that's good. That's back on track for filming. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is filming a scene on Earth. So it looks like they're going to be back on Earth briefly. Not sure for what, But also, the other news about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is Kevin Bacon is rumored to be in the film. So maybe they will meet their strongest Avenger, or whoever part of the Avengers, Kevin Bacon, as mentioned in Infinity War. Don't know if Kevin Bacon is playing anybody or just playing himself. And they say, hey, they're back on Earth. They run to Kevin Bacon or something. Who knows?
Yeah, that great for Peter to meet Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
An absolute hero.
Next bit of news: I Am Groot is releasing in September of this year, according to an updated Disney Plus release schedule. So that should be on September. That sounds like it's going to be just after She-Hulk, which is going to be around the July-August timeframe for She-Hulk. And the last piece of news, which is going to go into our topic of the day, is that Oscar Isaac does not have a contract with Marvel past the Moon Knight series. So the 6 episodes event, he has no contract, but in the articles out there that I've seen, it sounds like he wants to focus on the series before anything else. This does seem like a series 2 that's not really tied to anything. We know that Stark's not creating some kind of problem like he has in past movies. The Stark theme's gone. This is all new, set just about Moon Knight. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a tie-in with Wong at the end of the series. Just for the fact that Wong seems interesting in some of the supernatural stuff. We saw him with Shang-Chi at the end. There's rumors of Banner showing up in the series just because of their kind of parallels between Banner and Hulk and Moon Knight and multiple personalities. Yeah, and one thing, always to say anything else about that, but that's all I have for the news today.
Talking about tying 2 of those pieces of news together, do you think that we might see Werewolf by Night in Moon Knight? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie might be able to correct me here. Moon Knight was first appeared in Werewolf by Night, and I just saw that they had a little QR code in the museum, and if you scanned it, it took you to a picture of that Werewolf by Night thing. So I don't know whether that was a subtle little little hint of them saying, oh, he might show up in this.
It's possible. I don't know where it's going just now.
Yeah,
we might get a clearer picture halfway through, and you go, maybe it could just be maybe a post-credit scene at the end, and Moon Knight might show up in this Halloween special. It might just follow that story.
Well, there's also too that shot from the recent trailer that's in the group, where Moon Knight's, or is it in the group, or is it one of our chats, that you see it's in the trailer, but you see where Moon Knight is on a roof with somebody else, and that doesn't look like Harrow. That looks like a creature. So, and it's a shot with the moon big in the background. So, could we see like a tease of them getting ready to fight on the roof? Maybe we get like a tease of the committee at the end of this, and they're fighting on the roof. But who knows? But I wouldn't mind seeing some kind of connection, whether it's Blade, whether it's Werewolf by Night, whether it's a tease the man thing, whether it's Ghost Rider, whether it's somebody to kind of push this together, because Oscar Isaac has said during the premiere that he wants to do Midnight Suns. So.
Just before we get too stuck into Moon Knight, but talking about the contract thing, RMC said that regarding contracts, just read where Kevin said he wants actors not feeling bogged down by contract obligations and excited about their work. So, yeah, I mean, he did come out and say that a little while ago, didn't he? Feige did turn around and say that they weren't going to be giving out, or it wasn't going to be normal for them to give out long contracts anymore. So we know that I think it was said that Elizabeth Olsen got a longer contract, didn't she? But
recently,
recently. But I don't think it's something. It seems like it's something that they want to try and sway away from.
And by all purposes, when you see Oscar Isaac on the premiere talk about Moon Knight, he's excited about it. So you can tell, even some of the work that he did just to prepare for it and all the interviews, he's definitely excited for it. I'm just surprised that, not by him, but I know he wants to focus on this series, make sure it's a success. But I'm kind of surprised that Marvel just doesn't have like a couple more appearances, not a long contract, but say, hey, you're going to do 2 or 3 appearances of Moon Knight, and then we'll look at it then and reevaluate. Like, at least have some kind of following up tie-in. That's the only thing I'm surprised by.
You know what this means? They're going to kill him on episode 6.
Unless he's already dead.
His face. This is already dead.
Which I have a theory about that. We'll talk about that.
Okay, so it's a good one. So obviously we've kind of segued into it a little bit now, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about Moon Knight episode 1. That's why we've got Jamie on, our sort of resident Moon Knight enthusiast, and
Yeah.
and get stuck in. I don't like using the word expert.
No,
I think
you
as soon
nearly
as you
did.
yeah, I nearly did. I wouldn't have done because I don't like using it. But as soon as you use the word expert, people think, oh, he thinks he knows everything, or she thinks she knows everything, and then all of a sudden you put yourself on this like odd pedestal, and you're like, there's always room for improvement, isn't there?
Mhm.
But so let me kick off by saying I've only read Moon Knight in crossovers, so I've never read any actual Moon Knight stuff, so I don't know much about him, and even then, not a lot, if I'm honest. Bits and pieces. So I didn't really know what to expect. I was pleasantly surprised by the feel of it. I was a little bit worried that I don't really know what I was expecting. I don't know whether I was expecting, everyone was going, oh, it's going to be dark, and it may still be dark, but I was sort of like, oh, we're going to get a completely different feel that I don't like anymore, or not that I don't like anymore, that he's just foreign from the MCU, or is it going to be too light and fluffy for the story that I understand should be there? And I think they struck a nice balance to it overall. And for me, the standout is Oscar Isaac. He's absolutely superb, I thought. And everyone banging on about his British accent. I mean, clearly I'm British. I've met lots of people that speak exactly like he does. Lots of people that speak like that. In fact, the weirder accent, or not accent, because I don't think she was putting it on, but the weirder way of talking was his boss at the museum.
Donna.
She was really weird, and I was like, she probably is British, and she's like really laying it on thick. But I mean, I don't want to get too bogged down with the accent thing because I know it's sort of almost like driving controversy. But from what I believe and what a lot of other people believe as well is that Mark Spector is the main personality and he's American, and so the voice for Stephen, the accent for Stephen, is Mark's perception of a British accent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's supposed to be a little bit over the top and a little bit comedic and a little bit too much. It's supposed to be like that. That's what he's not. This isn't Oscar Isaac's best impression of an English accent. This is Mark's impression of an English accent. That's just my piece on that. But
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What did you guys think of the general sort of feel of the show?
Jarian, you want to go first?
Oh, so yeah. So it's I've watched this show several times, and Jamie knows in one of our chats that I just keep coming back with different stuff and going back and forth. I like this show because I didn't know what to expect. We definitely see some different things from the comics from the show, like Haro. His character was like a minor role in the comics. What we see now, Stephen Grant's like a billionaire, like Tony Stark in the comics. Where in the show we're seeing not a rich Stephen Grant.
You say that though, if he's got that flat in London, he's loaded. That massive loft apartment, beautiful. Anyway,
yeah, but it seems like they pulled things, and I've read all the comics because honestly, Moon Knight is a confusing read, and I've read most of the earlier stuff. I have to read like some of the later runs, but it seems like they've taken bits and pieces and have done the Marvel thing to it, the MCU thing to it. But I actually like it because it keeps you guessing. It keeps you trying to figure out what's going on and where things are going to steer going forward.
Yeah. Roxy said that the accent was on purpose because that's not his actual accent. So yeah, she's agreed. And RMC reckons that his boss was funny. Yeah, she was funny. But and what's Lisa just said there? She said, I've watched it twice now, once on my own to check the content, and again today was under. Well, what did you think then, Lisa? You can't just leave it at that. Give us your opinion on something. Jamie, what did you think of the general feel with it? I mean, being a Moon Knight fan.
Even going into it, I didn't know what to expect, and I told myself I'll go in with an open mind. These things, there's going to be changes, there's going to be different things in it, and there was, and most of them I'm happy with. I'd say there's some things there that could be throwaway references. If they are throwaway references, a couple of them
Like
could
Crowley.
be disappointing. Crowley and the Duchamp on his phone. If they are just throwaway references, that disappointing. But It's not important. Those characters aren't necessarily important. As you said, Jarian, you've read a lot of the earlier stuff. It seems to be closer to the newer stuff. You don't
Yep.
have much of Frenchie. You don't really have Crawley anymore. There's points where Stephen doesn't have any money. He loses his money a couple of times. He gets it back through whatever ways, but he loses his money, so he doesn't need to be rich. He does go times where he's got no money, so he does. I don't think Stephen needs to be rich.
Can I ask who's so again? I genuinely
Mm.
don't know, and I should imagine there's people watching and listening that don't know who's Crawley and who's Frenchie. Go.
Frenchie is Jean-Paul Duchamp. He was a mercenary with Mark, best friends for years and years. He was there when Mark died, and basically he's the pilot for him. He's his man in the chair sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Crawley is he's like an informant in a
Yep.
way. He's a homeless guy. He basically finds out about street level threats, drug deals, drug dealers,
Okay.
things like that. He'll inform him. He's like he's homeless. He's quite rough, but he speaks well to do.
Okay,
Very
and are they,
affluent.
right. Okay, so and was the presumption that Crawley was the street
Gold
performer?
statue
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know what? Then in that case, that's because I've seen comments and I don't know, and I was waiting for tonight to ask. I think in that case, then that's genius. He's sitting there. He's like a fly on the wall, isn't he? He's doing people watching. He's working, but he's people watching as well. You know, have you ever done it when you sit in a restaurant or not a restaurant, but like a cafe or a motorway truck stop type thing, and you sit there and you just look out and you just see people doing things and you hear like over bits of people's conversations and things like that. So I think that's a really cool way of getting him to be an informant. You know, he's hearing all sorts of things. And if he speaks well to do as well, he was, I think he was in a suit and
Gold true performer type role.
yeah, that's it. I think that's quite creative what they've done with. I mean, I'm guessing by the sounds of what you just said, he's a minor character. Is he a minor character?
But real quick though, I agree with RMC here, where he says he doesn't think there'll be throwaways. I don't think Crawley will be, because to me, Crawley seemed like a pacifying, almost comforting presence to Stephen. And I wonder if we'll see more of him. We'll see him back talking to him, or if we'll see Crowley in some other piece here. A couple things here I want to address real quick too. Was his least side, I believe, with Xander. We loved it. It was definitely intense. Xander thinks Moon Knight is a symbiote. We knew nothing about Moon Knight before watching, so it could be off. And then I'm not sure which one who's saying this one.
That's Raymond.
Raymond. Okay. I'm glad you guys are covering Frenchie and Crawley, and Jake was nodded too in the mirror with the reflections, which we'll talk about that too as well, because there's subtle hints there. We're only seeing two personalities, but there's subtle hints a third one is there.
Yeah.
But Crawley being one of them, because the relationship that Crawley had was predominantly with Jake.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So I really like that idea that Crawley could be. He's almost his best friend, wasn't he? He was sitting down, and the way that Stephen spoke to him was like, "Yeah, see you tomorrow, mate." You know, it was his best friend, wasn't he? I still don't think there's anybody on the other end of the phone, by the way. You know, when he's talking to his mum.
I think he's leaving messages to himself or to another personality and kind of like checking in. That's in my thought, that he's checking in with somebody. It's almost like they're leaving messages to say another personality, maybe someone we haven't seen emerge yet, like Jake maybe, and he's leaving messages, kind of checking in. You know, because Jake's kind of like the detective, I would say, type person. He kind of uses his persona to kind of find things out, to kind of get into places and kind of, get back to the others. So that's my thought about that.
Nice. One other thing I wanted to bring up, because I guess because I don't know much about the comics related stuff, I was looking at it from within itself, and a lot of controversy as well about the skipping of the fight scenes, which again I thought was absolute genius. I tell you what, if there was any better way to illustrate to viewers who are watching a television program or a movie how that person feels, it was doing that. I just thought that was, at first I was like, what just happened there? And then you get it almost instantly what happened, and you're like, oh, I love that. And that car chase, apart from one other thing that I want to talk about in a moment, but that car chase was genius. Like you saw everything but nothing at the same time, and you just felt exactly like Stephen, like totally out of control, totally lost, totally I don't know what's going on, but that's how you were supposed to feel. And we will see fight scenes. We are going to
Yep.
see fight scenes. We are 100% going to see fight scenes.
This is all from Grant's point of view.
Exactly.
This first
exactly.
episode.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and I thought that was genius, that bit.
what you're about to mention is what I think you're going to mention, because there's something. I've been going back and forth over this, and I'll put it out there. Was that Doom's castle that we saw?
Oh, that's not
when he
what I was
woke up. Oh, okay. But when he woke up in the field, was that Doom's castle? Because they said he was in the Alps, right? They didn't say which Alps. They didn't say the Swiss Alps. They didn't say the Bavarian Alps. There are the Bavarian Alps. That's Doom. There's a castle and a town below. Doom is related to magic as well, and there's crossovers between Doom and Moon Knight in the comics also. So are they subtle hinting at Doom? Remember that early trailer too, the picture in the truck where it said Doom in the truck, like something Doom, but we don't see
Vaughn something.
Yeah, Vaughn something or whatever. Yeah, we saw that in the early stuff. We didn't see it in the episode, so that's kind of throwing me off there. Where it's like, is this Marvel messing with us, or is that actually an Easter egg to say that this might hint towards Doom at some point?
Well, so I know you guys know that I've seen it, but people, sorry, RMC said pure genius. How do you translate multiple personalities to screen? That's how. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
So I watched Black Summer. I won't bore everybody with what it is, but it's a zombie thing. And there's first sort of 2 or 3 episodes of the first season. There's something really brilliant that goes on, and it's a little bit Pulp Fiction-esque, where something's happening, and in the background, really subtly, just over there in the corner, something else is going on. And at the time when you're watching this scene from the perspective of this person that you're following, that other thing doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing. And then it kind of flip-flops back and forwards, and you see those people, and in the background of their piece of the show, the thing that you've already watched is going on in the background over there. Does that make sense? I wonder whether we might get something similar to that. Now that we've built this universe, are we going to get just little bits in the background, sort of like Doom sitting in there having a mug of something or other, in his castle, and out the background there's Stephen Grant running down the hill being chased after a couple of guys, and it's just a bit throwaway. I mean, and that's stupid. That shouldn't happen, and hopefully it won't happen. Hopefully Marvel's writers are more intelligent than that. But you get my point. Like, I wonder whether something like that could start happening now that we've built this big universe.
And then RMC says about that, it'd be unexpected, but you're right. It could be a double cross. And then he also says, to your Black Summer reference, he says Black Summer is awesome. So
yeah.
I haven't watched it, so I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, anyway, no, that wasn't what I was going to say, Joe.
Okay.
But yeah, who knows? It could be. From the source material, then, is there ever any crossover between Moon Knight and Doom? Like anything obvious that you could pull from?
There's actually a cover. There's one of the cover where Moon Knight and Doom are on the cover. I'll have to go back and check it, but there's one where it's like impending doom or something like that, and Doom is in the background and then Moon Knight's below. And I can't remember which comic it was, but that's the most notable one I can think of it as far as Doom and Moon Knight crossovers.
It's there, but I can't. It's there, but I can't remember specifically. I mean, Adam asked me a question earlier on, and I knew exactly what he was talking about, and they just couldn't put it. I couldn't find it. I can't remember what it was. He asked something about Moon Knight. Is it? Did this happen? When did this happen? And it's just like, no, I can't find it. I can't find it in my head. There's just so much before, and it's just, when did that happen? What happened? Yes, he's met this person, but when and why? And it's just.
I think that's the same. Even now though, we're getting to a point in the MCU, aren't we, where you're like, did Falcon meet, Pepper at some point?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, he did. It was in this movie. It's getting to that point now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many years now? 14 years of content that we've got to draw back from. Raymond's just said he was looking in that chase scene at all the boxes, and he couldn't see anything that referred to Victor Von Doom.
Yeah, it's not in the show, but in one of the earlier trailers, there was a screenshot that had it. It was almost like it was maybe like a throwaway or something, or removed in final editing. I'm not sure.
The Vaughn something is on the side of the van as he steals it.
Yeah.
Because you've got the big name, which is the big writing, and then there's a little
The cupcakes.
there's a little like line of writing, and it's Vaughn, and it's a really long word. I can't see what it is, but the Vaughn is there.
Right, quickly
I
before
think
we go on, because Monty's just watching, and I don't know whether he caught last week. So congratulations to Monty and Brittany on their
Yes.
engagement.
Congratulations.
I know he's watching. I know he's watching right now. So yeah.
Caught him.
He just come on, and I thought, oh, I'll quickly say it now while he's listening. So congratulations, you two. Before we go on to just talking just a little bit more about Moon Knight itself, so one last thing from me, because then after that I'm done. Talking about that car chase scene, so I loved lots of things. One thing I was disappointed with was the quality of the CGI in that car chase scene. I just thought it was pretty poor with the logs, and something was off in that particular scene. The suit up at the end was really cool. I thought that was excellent. But
I won't say it.
Don't say it.
I don't know what you're going to say. But I just thought that car chase scene, the logs falling down and all of that, I don't know. I just didn't. For me, I just thought, do you know what? I've seen better, and I was expecting better. I don't know if you guys had the same thoughts. No.
No.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's I know that they went through some reshoots. We know that it's on the back end of the pandemic, so my only thing about CGI is I feel sometimes they use CGI when they don't need to use CGI, and that's the only thing I'll say about that. Who knows? It could be the company they're using. It could be a time thing. Someone goes. By the way, Von D is in the box.
Oh.
So, but
that's
and
Monty.
It's Monty. Thanks, Monty. It could just be the timing, the company, where they had to go through some reshoots. Who knows? I'm not gonna hold them to the coals for it.
For me,
sorry, Jay, go on.
So I can forgive bad CGI if everything else is good.
Yeah, me too.
And the story's good so far.
Yeah, totally. I do totally agree with that. But I think I think you just come to expect a certain level. All the time, don't you? And when you don't get it, you're like, hold on, what happened there? And it just stood out. There's a term that I use, and Jamie might have heard it, but it stands out like a turd in a punch bowl. When the quality is so high, all the time. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything in any MCU project and gone, that looked rubbish. And then all of a sudden I thought that, and it was like, oh, that's not a fault that I usually have when watching a Marvel Studios production. So that's all. And to be honest, as you was just saying, if that's my only criticism of the show so far, well played. So
Arm scene goes about the Doom thing. The double cross would be that they knew we'd see it and figure it's not Von Doom, but then if he really did show up, boom, double cross. So they keep us on our toes. They'll keep looking for stuff, and then if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, like, oh, is this something throwaway?
Yeah. So the guy with the big beak, that's Khonshu, yeah?
Yep.
How you pronounce his name? And so again, I know we discussed this when you was on last time, Jay, but just for anybody that's listening that has no idea who Khonshu is, who is Khonshu?
The god of the moon, the Egyptian god of the moon, and Marx's avatar.
Right,
brings him back to life.
I was going to just say, what is this avatar thing? Can somebody explain that? Because I kind of get it, but
it's like the live representation on Earth of that god or deity.
Okay, so do we think that Ethan Hawke is an avatar of someone?
He could be the avatar of Amit. Could be.
So, I think he could be Amit. He could be something else. But does it seem like, I'm going to ask you this, Jimmy, because you're more versed on Moon Knight than I am. Does it seem like Amit is a mixture of Amit and Anubis, or maybe that for some reason with all the story that Haro told about the gods and that kind of stuff, did Amit take out Anubis and get her powers possibly in this series, or some kind of cross happened there? Because that line that he said to Stephen in the museum, about the gods, and they didn't like what she was doing. She could have prevented all these things, and they kind of cast her out. Does she come back and get revenge and take over for Anubis? Because the jackal, that's Anubis, right? The jackal's Anubis
Hmm.
in Egyptian mythology. The scales thing isn't the scales
That's
thing.
Anubis' skill.
Yeah, and the way he's judging people is like when you see people that have to have the riches to buy their way in to whether they can pass or not. And that
Hmm.
seems like how Haro is judging people to where they can pass or not, and that's the whole scales thing. So it almost seems like it's a cross of Amit and Anubis, or Amit and Anubis to me.
Yeah, it would just would seem odd for Anubis to do that because he's a benevolent god. He's not good. He's not bad. He just lets things be. So it would be strange, but I think because he's got the scales on his arm, and I said they're Anubis' scales, unless, as you said, Amit could have seized control of them somehow, possibly. That's the only thing I can think.
There's just while we're on Ethan Hawke as well, there's a certain gravitas that certain actors can bring to roles, isn't there? And I've said this before about Angelina Jolie and people like that, Robert Redford. They bring their sort of their wisdom, I guess, to the production, don't they? And it's just almost like anytime they're on the screen, like that opening scene, he didn't even have to say anything, and it was quality, wasn't it? He didn't have
The
to say
music is
anything.
quality too, and perfect where they're doing the music along with stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what? I really like the sound in this. I thought the
Mhm.
sounds were really great, like all the way through, like the score and just everything was really. There was some atmospheric stuff in there. It was yeah, it was really good. But yeah, Ethan Hawke was just yeah, I don't know. He just had that kind of feeling when he was on the screen that he demanded attention and demand.
Hmm.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I think that's kind of where he's at. He's an experienced actor, isn't he? So
A couple
yeah,
of comments here too from the group. Amit has definitely had her power expanded upon because she's not that nearly important in the comics. And
Yeah.
then the next one here, I think we're going to find that Amit has made her move and is trying to be proactive with judging life rather than reactive, like Ethan Hawke has said, because that's actually a pretty good one right there as
Hmm.
well. Um,
yeah,
because the way
smart.
he talked to Steven and so forth. And speaking of judging, um, I think we saw the DID on full display when Haro judged Stephen Grant because you saw the scales go crazy, right? And so
Hmm.
Stephen could be green, Mark or even Jake could be red, or maybe one's neutral, one's red, and that's why the scales went all crazy and he couldn't judge him. Like there's chaos in you.
Hmm.
That was interesting to me in that scene from what we saw with him,
Hmm.
judging people prior to that.
Hmm. Yeah, he sucked the life out of that lady, didn't he? um, yeah, that was a bit uh, Indiana Jones esque, wasn't it? Like that sort of
Hmm.
that life just sort of draining out of that lady, and then sort of dragged her off. She sort of sacrificed herself to the gods, kind of thing. But yeah, I think that the that kind of not ancient. That's not what I'm looking at. The Egyptian mythology side of it, that's the word that I was wanting to find, mythology, that Egyptian mythology side of it, I think that in itself might bring other people into Marvel
Hmm.
that may not have been into Marvel before, but they're into that kind of, that Egyptian mythology and all of that, because it's not I mean, I don't know this because I have no real idea and knowledge around Egyptian mythology, but it's not massively. It's taking lots of names and lots of themes and everything from actual Egyptian mythology, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's quite sort of true to a lot of those stories.
The
So
Pantheon of the Gods you mentioned.
yeah, there you go.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I
Yep.
mean, again, I don't really know much about it, but from what I do know, it's taken a lot of that into the show. So that could itself bring in different viewers. And we spoke about Marvel trying to bring in different viewers into the MCU and into just Marvel in general, whether it be comics or MCU or cartoons. With Miss Marvel coming up, they're going to be looking at a different demographic that they're going to try and get involved. And hopefully now they've brought over all the shows from Netflix, and there's another demographic there. They're changing the parental controls, so are they looking after the sort of older fan, and they seem to be kind of not branching off. I don't mean it like that, but kind of really expanding their offering.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Moon Knight is slowly starting to do that. It's a little bit more. You got to think a little bit more, haven't you?
So speaking of different shows and different properties, Phase 4, are they starting to bring a theme in for Phase 4 and an ancient artifacts type theme? Because think about it, Shang-Chi, 10 Rings, Moon Knight, the Scarab, Miss Marvel's going to have the Bangle. Are we going to see any other artifacts pop up in this phase? Or have there already been some other artifacts that have popped up that we haven't noticed?
And obviously the Eternals just, been throughout, history.
Yeah. Well, she had Excalibur, and we saw Black Knight with the Ebony Blade. That's another artifact. So we are getting artifacts here in these Phase 4 movies, because Eternals, Shang-Chi, these TV shows, it's all artifacts. Other than Black Widow in Phase 4, it's all artifacts. And even with, I guess, Spider-Man No Way Home, you kind of had some stuff with the eye that he had still in that box, that they were, even some of the things they did, I don't know, I guess you call it artifacts, but maybe that one's a throwaway. But the rest, we're seeing some kind of artifacts.
Yeah, I think you're right there, because up until this point, everything's kind of been very new, hasn't it? Or sort of since the war, since World War II. That's kind of as far back as it's gone, and everything's been very modern, and they've not expanded the universe beyond that. I mean, well, obviously Guardians and a couple of the alien things, but on Earth they've not expanded that backwards. They've not gone backwards to delve into that. But maybe the whole Kang thing is time. So, and talking about Kang and talking about ancient Egypt, are we going to see Ramatut? Is there going to be some sort of connection between Ramatut and Amit or Khonshu or Anubis, or is there going to be some sort of rivalry or war that's been going on between them thousands of years ago? Is that going to tie in somehow, maybe?
What if Ramatut is the reason why Amit has expanded powers?
Mm-hmm. He's gone back and done something he shouldn't have done.
There you go. Yeah. Raymond said that Deadpool, Moon Knight, Blade, Werewolf by Night, they can't do PG anymore. Yep.
RMC is trying to accommodate everyone, and then also here's an artifacts one as well.
That's Monty. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. He said, I think the artifacts and powered items have always been a part of it, but will continue to be, especially now that we don't have the Infinity Stones. Yeah, good point. Yeah, we don't have.
Replace that.
What do they call it? Is it a MacGuffin? Isn't it? They call it a MacGuffin, like a thing that a movie or a show or a story has to kind of revolve around. We've had the stones for so long, we ain't got them anymore. We've got to find something else.
So I want to address something here, and I'll talk about the theory that I mentioned too. So Alex, and hopefully we get Alex back soon, and hopefully he's doing well.
Yes.
But Alex had a poll the other day. I gotta find. Actually, I had it pulled up earlier, but he had a poll about what do we think is going on with the show and with Stephen Grant and along those lines. And I said I'd share the theory in here. I almost think right now what we're seeing is like a purgatory type of scenario, because it doesn't sound like we're going to get Bushman in this series. So this series could be taken after Bushman had to kind of do with the downfall of Mark in the desert, right? So what if Mark is already dead right now, and he's stuck like in the realm where the gods are stuck at right now, and all this is a test by Khonshu to see if he's worthy of being his avatar on Earth. And by the time the series ends, we find that out, and maybe even we see a Wong connection where Wong comes through a portal to get him out of this realm. But everything he's done on this series of the show, he becomes worthy of being Khonshu's avatar on Earth. And then that's how they wrap up the Egyptian side of Moon Knight, by doing this in the 6 episode event. And then going forward, it's all street level Moon Knight in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not sure on the former part of what you just said, but I do agree with what you just said on the latter part of that I think that this series will certainly focus on that Egyptian and the history side of it, and that won't necessarily end, but yeah, he will then be part of the Midnight Suns. Or I reckon we'll get. I didn't realize. I don't know why I didn't realize this, man. I must have seen it in the trailers, but I didn't realize he would be in London. Obviously, I knew that there was a British accent, but I didn't realize he'd be in London. And we know that Dane Whitman, so Kit Harington's Black Knight, he's in London as well, and he's just meddled with the Ebony Blade, and we know that Blade spoke to him. So, all those characters. Sorry, Jamie?
It's in London as well. Then.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Yeah, all of those characters are in London. If we do happen to see a Werewolf by Night cameo in Moon Knight, then that person could potentially be in London as well. So we could have sort of 4 potential Midnight Suns in London. So that's looking more and more likely, isn't it, that that's going to happen? And I don't know. Again, I'm very basic knowledge of the Midnight Suns, but what kind of level of threat are they sort of going after?
Mystical, magical type threats,
right.
Those type of things. Speaking of Dane Whitman too, they both worked in museums. And what if Dane Whitman ends up being the timepiece at the end of the series, like shows up in Stephen's museum?
Yeah.
But RMC said about the theories that I'm bored with this theory. There's plenty of supporting evidence we talked about in the chats, but not on the group. And one of those supporting things, and I think Jamie pointed this out to me, or Barb did, is that the little girl he initially talks to in the museum tells him he's dead.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, more or less, she tells him he's dead.
It must have sucked for you getting rejected.
Yeah.
The field of view, and you go, that doesn't make sense. I'm not dead. I know.
Oh, Midnight. Sorry. I'm sitting there reading RMC's comment there. He said, I think BK, which is Black Knight, should be in MS. And I'm thinking, MS? What movie's MS? But he means Midnight Suns.
Yeah, but he is, though. In the comics, he is.
Mm-hmm.
In the comics, he is Midnight Suns.
I don't know. But
yeah. Black Knight, Blade, Ghost Rider, Doctor Strange, Bloodstone, Man-Thing, Morbius, Black Cat, what's the Agatha's not in it, but in the MCU she could be, and the same as Daredevil as well. They could be 2 changes for the MCU.
I'd still really like to see an MI13 thing.
Yeah, they get that too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd really like to see that. Monty's just said there an interesting point regarding that theory. We never, and it's kind of something we spoke about earlier, Monty.
Yep.
We never hear his mother talk back to him. He's always leaving her a message. What's the significance there? Is this all in his head? I don't believe that per se, but I'm interested in what's up with his mum. Yeah, I agree with you, Monty. I don't think that there's anybody on the other end of the phone.
Who sent the postcard, though?
Yeah, that's true. But John,
wasn't there something about the postcard you said was significant? Weren't they Egyptian postcards or something on them? And there was something you said too in one of our conversations about the hippo significance also.
Yeah, again, tying into your theory that all his colleagues could be gods. Donna could be Amit. The woman he's supposed to go on a date with, that could be that hippo god, because as soon as he finishes that first conversation with her, it cuts to the next scene, and that's when he's handing Donna the box of the Towerette stuffed toys, the hippo god woman. She could be that, and JB, the guy at the security, he could be someone, I don't know, a god that watches. I don't know.
And they're all there.
Horse in the eye. You all see
horse,
that, wasn't it horse?
Yeah, he's got all the CCTV screens right in front of him.
And they're all there, sort of watching and looking after and being in that same environment. And you're talking about the girl that he was supposed to go on a date with. They're talking about the darkness of it, and I like darkness of a program. If you say that this program or movie is dark, I don't necessarily. And obviously, I know that a lot of people don't think this, but I don't think that as the tone of it, like the actual tone of it, like the brightness is dark. That's not what I mean. And also not just the theme, as in violence and, sexual content, etc., etc. But that moment when he was at the restaurant and he figured out that he'd lost 2 days, that look on his face, that like realization that he was clearly ill and there was clearly something wrong with him and he was just a broken person. That for me is just as dark as seeing Moon Knight beat the crap out of somebody.
Yep.
You know, Moon Knight beat the crap.
Yeah, it's a mind. It's
Yeah,
a mind.
exactly.
A mind. I can't say what I want to say. I'm not gonna say the F word, but it's mind bending, right? And I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to see that Tyler Durden narrator type, Cornelius type realization with Moon Knight. You know, and I think we kind of saw that at the end of the episode in the mirror when finally Mark started talking to Steven saying I can save us, that kind of stuff. And back to the mirrors, you know, there's times where we see three of them in the mirror. There's subtle hints, the Crawley thing, so there is another personality there. They just haven't come out and say it yet, but I think we're going to see that Jake come out at some point. Also just want to call out too, I believe Monty corrected me, Punisher, yes, Punisher is also Midnight Suns as well.
Yeah, Lisa's just also said there that yeah, she agrees that definitely felt dark when he was ordering the steak. He was clearly broken.
That waiter did him dirty.
I did. Well done steak. What was the well done steak?
Because Steven didn't know any better, and he said yes, very, very good, very good, and he took that as, you know, why would the waiter give him the best cut? Well done.
Well done. What's wrong with him? Roxy thinks that Mark is sending Stephen postcards and phone calls pretending to be his mum's to keep him occupied. Yes,
and that could be Mark or even Jake. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I kind of agree with you there, Roxy. So Monty, if you're still listening, that's what we reckon. We reckon that he's kind of sending himself messages, and they're almost like coded messages, maybe. But look, listen, we're gonna try and wrap it up there, guys, within the hour.
One more thing real quick, though.
Go on in.
So the QR code. So there is a QR code we mentioned earlier in the museum that takes you to the first appearance of Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night. There is a rumor that I was reading earlier that there might be a QR code in every episode.
Oh,
so keep an eye out for that.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun trying to spot those. Yeah, so keep an eye out for the QR codes. It's good. It's good. We're liking it. We're all liking it, and I think the general consensus is that people are really enjoying it. There's a few outline issues and people with their own sort of problems with it, but that's great. That's what makes these conversations great, and the whole Marvel universe interesting, because people do like some stuff and don't like other stuff, and that's okay. That's fine. And you know, if you didn't agree with anything that we've said, then you know, that's cool. That happens.
RMC says already. I'm like, yeah, that this hour goes by quick.
I know, tell me about it. Yeah, I want to carry on. But no, listen, we've all got lives to lead. So it's been great having you on, Jamie. We're going to see you again, like I said, for the next 5 weeks. You're going to be with us.
Yep.
So,
be back next week.
Yeah. So hopefully, Alex will be back soon. If you're listening, Alex, you know, wishing you well, mate. Go on, Jarian. What did you want to say?
I'll say the last thing too, from all the reviews that I've read, and even the showrunners have said this, episode 4 is supposed to be a huge turning point. So it sounds like things may hit the fan when we get to episode 4. So looking forward to that.
Nice, cool. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all your input. It's been great. Thank you, Monty. Thank you, Roxy. We've had loads on tonight. Lisa, RMC, Raymond. Yeah. Everybody, great job. Thank you very much for your input. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jarian.
We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced them
All right. Well, as I remember,
at Avenger headquarters?